Okay, let's preview next week. Week 8 is here. Starts off with Iowa at Ohio State. This is, according to SP Plus, the number one defense in the country against the number one offense in the country,
I love it.
which might actually be legit. Like, Iowa might have the best defense in the country. Their offense is a different story. Ohio State is about a 29-point favorite here. Um, any chance that they ugly this up to the point where it's relatively close in the second half?
So much chance that happens. So much chance that happens. Iowa might be my side this week. Again, we'll do locks in a little bit. I'm not sure why. I don't know why I feel this way. The defense is good for Iowa. There's no doubt. If they can you mentioned muck it up, make it ugly. Like just ball control offense, keep the possessions down. Maybe you get a tip ball and a turnover or a sack, strip fumble, something. And suddenly this is anyone's ball game going into halftime. Ohio State's going to pull away and probably win this game, but by 29 points, where we say they're going to win by more than 4 touchdowns, I'm not so sure. So Iowa can absolutely do that at least for a half.
Does Ohio State have to score more than 35 to cover here?
Oh, maybe not. Probably not. No. Dude, they had a bye week. I was coming off a bye week, which actually kind of makes me feel kind of good about it. You have 2 weeks to prepare and all that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you heard what Brian Ferentz, their offensive coordinator, said to a reporter. And he's why don't you make a quarterback change from Spencer Petras? Like, just like make a quarterback change. He's like, what's the downside at this point? And to which Brian Ferentz said, well, what's the upside? And it's like, have you not watched your offense? Like, it's not very good right now. There's a lot of upside. So, I don't have a whole lot. There's not much trust in the Iowa offense. The defense, though, as you mentioned, is really, really good. I think they can kind of keep this close, at least closer than 4 touchdowns. So,
I don't know if you're paying attention to Iowa fans at all. Like last year, they were actually defending, to some extent, the Ferentzes. And we were kind of trashing them. If you follow it this year, like I've heard even some of their the beat guys and people are not happy with this. I honestly think if you offered Iowa, if you asked Iowa fans, would you rather fire Kirk Ferentz or keep both him and his son, they would be okay with firing their most successful coach they've ever had. Like if it came down to that, they would get rid of him. Just because this can't happen. Like, there's no way Brian Ferentz can be the offense coordinator next year. And I think it might be the type of situation where it might come down to the athletic director saying you need to fire your son or resign. Like, it might come down to that.
Their last game they lost to Illinois 9-6. And you put up 6 points. Yeah. Like, those are games you can't have. No, I agree.
Yeah. All right, Syracuse is at Clemson. Syracuse, like you mentioned, number 14 in the country. Clemson's number 5. Clemson is a 13.5-point favorite or thereabouts. Mm-hmm. Syracuse undefeated. Feels like this is like the buck stops here, right? Or am I wrong?
No, I agree. I think Clemson is much better than Syracuse. Clemson is also a side that I'm going to be on this week. Mm-hmm. I think they win. I think they cover. You mentioned this is going to be a home game. Syracuse, I understand that Syracuse has historically played Clemson fairly close. You harken back to a couple of years ago where they actually beat them outright and then almost beat them back-to-back years. I don't think this goes that direction at all. I think Syracuse is a little bit overinflated. I think they get a sharp dose of reality. I think Clemson may be just a little underrated from a betting standpoint. Kind of leaning Clemson in this situation. I think they can win. I think they can cover as well.
Sure. Okay, let's see what else we got on the docket this week. We got Cincinnati at SMU. Maybe not worth talking about a ton, but this is kind of a big G5 matchup. Any thoughts on this game? Cincinnati has looked a little bit less good the last few weeks than we thought maybe they are.
Yeah, 5-1 though. Like 5-1, SMU 3-3. And I mean, Cincinnati's not a playoff team anymore, and so in that way, like they're not even a threat to it. So it kind of sucks, but they kind of fall off my radar a little bit. Like mm-hmm. I'm not going to follow them super closely. I probably won't watch any of this game at all.
Sure. All right, West Virginia is at Texas Tech. Texas Tech about a touchdown favorite. This feels like I think I understand why Texas Tech is favored by a touchdown, But this feels a little bit more like kind of just a classic Big 12 shootout-y, maybe a bit of a toss-up game. Or am I wrong? Yeah, what do you think?
No, I like the shootouty part. The over under is 68, which is fairly high, like
Yeah.
as far as over unders go. So
Mhm.
yeah, Vegas would agree with you. Good quarterback play, West Virginia. Hey, big win against Baylor, like you mentioned, big for the pod. 3-3. I'm not even sure what their season was. It 5.5. I think their season win total is 5.5.
Yeah.
To kind of go back to that. So if we could get another win here, get them to 4-3, that would be huge. It feels like they would certainly go over at that point. Yeah, no, not much to say other than that. Two decent teams. Both of these teams are decent. Yeah, and the winner of this one, like they're both 3-3. So whoever gets to 4-3, yeah, they've taken it. This year is like for pecking order,
Sure.
recruiting in the off season.
Yes.
This like it echoes into the off season when you're like I mentioned it maybe with LSU Florida this past week. This is also kind of one of those games where you have some fairly young head coaches. Like how does it affect like your off season? Texas Tech has recruited well to start out theirs. Can West Virginia get it going? I think this is more for recruiting than anything else.
Sure. All right, the Pac-12 has a top 10 matchup this week. Number 9 UCLA is at number 10 Oregon. Oregon about a 6-point favorite. UCLA has not lost this year. Their offense has been humming along. They look good in the trenches. Oregon, of course, opening blowout to Georgia, but have looked really good since then for the most part. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you feel like Oregon continues to kind of roll along, or is UCLA the better team here?
Oh man, I don't know. Like this one here, I'm really not sure. Like Vegas feels kind of good about Oregon, has them up 6. Oregon has rebounded quite well. You mentioned
Yeah,
like to get absolutely hammered by Georgia week 1. It used to happen like when Alabama would go play a team and they just hammer you, and then like it affects you for like the next 2 or 3 weeks, and like
yeah,
that one loss, it ended up costing you a couple of losses. This has not happened for Oregon. This has been a really good turnaround for Dan Lanning. They've scored over 40 ever since that game.
hmm
I think they can get him. Like, I really do. I think Bo Nix has played well. Now, do not bet on this game. Do
no,
not bet on Bo Nix. Do not,
no,
please do not bet on this football game. Just watch it. It'll be very entertaining. Great uniforms in this game.
yes,
It's, yeah, aesthetically pleasing. All of that. We love this. Gonna be a fun game to watch. They're at 3:30 on Fox. It's a bummer they don't get Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson. I think like I would enjoy them calling this game. I think they're calling Iowa Ohio State, which is a little unfortunate. But yeah, no, I love it. This is going to be a lot of fun.
All right, Texas is at Oklahoma State this week. Texas back in the rankings at number 20. Oklahoma State's at 11. Oh, Texas is a 6-point favorite here on the road. They've looked like a couple like completely different teams this year, depending whether or not Quinn Ewers has been playing. Um, which that's not completely true because last week they almost lost to Iowa State. That was the classic letdown spot, though, coming off that huge win against Oklahoma. Um, any reason to think Oklahoma State could bounce back here after their loss to TCU? They are the home dog here.
I would be betting on Oklahoma State. I
Okay.
don't know if this will be one of my locks. I'll probably leave it off. You're a ranked team that's a home dog. That's kind of just like a marker. Like watch out for that. That's often going to be somewhere where you can find a little bit of like a little bit of an advantage maybe. Find
Mhm.
some value. So I would be thinking about it. They're going to be coming off a loss, going to be a little undervalued. Texas easily could have lost that game against Iowa State this
Mhm.
past week. They didn't. They pulled it out. I think we would be feeling a lot different about Texas had they lost that game. So yeah, no, I would be okay. I'd probably be on the Oklahoma State side. Probably going to stay away from it, but Oklahoma State would be the side I would be leaning.
Sure. Okay, a big SEC matchup. Ole Miss is at LSU. LSU is a 1.5-point favorite against number 7 Ole Miss. Make it make sense to me, Ashton.
I have nothing for you. I have zero things for you. LSU is they had a really big win. They had a really big win.
Yeah.
They're not ranked. They're not ranked. They're 5-2. Ole Miss is undefeated. Ole Miss, they're number 7 in the country, and they've looked the part. They run the ball really well. I have nothing for you. I cannot make this one make sense. Do you have anything for me? Like, what are we possibly missing here?
I'm not sure. I will say I feel like there's been some talk that Jackson Dart hasn't been quite as good this year as some people expected. His numbers aren't ridiculous. Like, but you mentioned like they've run the ball well. Their defense is not bad.
No.
I think before the season, I would have probably assumed that the Ole Miss outcome against LSU would probably roughly mirror the Tennessee outcome against LSU, which I don't think that will happen because Tennessee's a lot better than we thought.
Yes, that's right.
But like, if you're giving me LSU as an underdog, I mean Ole Miss as an underdog, yeah, like we'll be talking about this game later. I'm just saying.
Okay, I like that. I might be with you on that. You might get some agreement from me.
Yeah. All right. Purdue is at Wisconsin. Wisconsin a 2.5-point favorite. A bit curious to me. Do we just have the same discussion that we just had about Ole Miss and LSU, or does this one make sense to you?
Pretty much. How about this? You go on the side that common sense would take us, and I'll go on the side that Vegas has us. We'll just see who ends up right. Like we'll bet on both of these games. We'll bet on both of these games. We'll just see. That way we can come back, next week and talk about like, well, Purdue's clearly a better team than Wisconsin. Clearly better. I mean, LSU is not as good as Ole Miss right now. They're not, and the wrong teams are favored. I don't understand either one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know that I have a whole lot more to say about this game. So we'll move on. Mississippi State is at Alabama this week. Bama, a 3-touchdown favorite coming off the huge loss to Tennessee. A couple of different ways of looking at this game. On the one hand, you could say emotional letdown spot for Alabama.
Sure.
You could also say that Mississippi State, there is kind of a way to beat them, and it feels like Alabama might be smart enough to figure that out. Just kind of copy and paste from the Kentucky game plan last week.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those do you buy more?
So does that mean that we're back to trusting Alabama's secondary against a really good passing attack? Because I missed that lesson from last week. Alabama favored by 21. That's 3 touchdowns. I actually think Mississippi State's pretty good. Mm-hmm. I really do think Mississippi State's pretty good. Stay away. Just stay away. That means run. Do not involve yourself in this game. Do not put a penny on either one of these teams because you do not know what's going to happen. You really don't. Alabama could come out and have 20 penalties this next game. And then then who's going to be favored, So and then Mississippi State, could come out and look the same as they did against Kentucky. Or they could be world beaters again. Like we really don't know with those guys. That they put up 42 on A&M, a good A&M team. Or, they put up 16 against LSU. We could get either team, and we're not sure which.
I do think if Alabama had won that game last week against Tennessee, I would be on Mississippi State here.
Agreed.
At a 3-touchdown line.
Yes.
But I just don't want to bet against a wounded animal known as Nick Saban.
Why would you? Yeah. Why would you? That guy, he really enjoyed that. Like, I will say something about Saban. He enjoys when his team loses. Like, I don't know quite what it does, but like it makes that his players listen to his coaching points better, I guess.
All right, Texas A&M is at South Carolina. A&M a 3.5-point favorite. Not a lot to talk about probably here. Any chance South Carolina pulls the upset here?
Decent. Yeah. No, like home game. Like South Carolina is actually 4-2. They're pretty good. Spencer Rattler can be good at times. At times, I'm not saying he's terrific. Like, does that mean that we're going to trust the A&M offense to go on the road and play well? Like, who's it going to be? Are we going with Haynes King? Is this Max? Like, who's the starting quarterback? Like, that would be a good question. They did have a bye. So like A&M had a bye after the Alabama close loss. Whereas South Carolina, they beat Kentucky and they also had a bye coming into this game. So like, just curious, something to be curious about. I think it'll be competitive. I think it'll be a good watch late in the evening. I think it'll just be a good close game.
Sure. All right, a game that would have been a lot bigger if last week had been different. Minnesota is at Penn State. Penn State a 5-point favorite. Still has some stakes here. Pecking order. Minnesota still has a chance to win their side of the division. Technically, Penn State does too.
Okay.
Not really, because they need Michigan to lose twice, and they have to beat Ohio State. Probably not happening. Yeah. Any thoughts on this game?
No, I think Penn State will come out and hammer Minnesota. Like I really do believe that. I think Penn State will get back. Yeah, I think they have the ability to shut down Ibrahim, and I don't think that Minnesota is very good outside of the running back position. So yeah, I think Penn State was a little embarrassed on national TV. They're only 4.5-point favorites. I would be leaning Penn State.
Yeah. Okay, one last game to talk about. There are two undefeated teams in Big 12 conference play. They play each other. Kansas State is at TCU. TCU a 3.5-point favorite. This is for first place, sole possession of first place in the Big 12 standings. Who comes away victorious? Which purple team?
Well, I like TCU. I like Max Duggan. I already teased that one earlier. Not enough to bet on, but the only thing that I will say, Martinez for Kansas State. Remember he threw all those interceptions back when he played for Nebraska?
Yeah.
He threw interceptions all the time. Hasn't thrown one this year. He's only thrown for 4 touchdowns, no picks. Like, he's been efficient in taking care of the ball. Deuce Vaughn is a real dude at running back for K-State. So, no, good game. Real good game. It's only on FS1, which is kind of a shame. Like, I wish it was on, Fox or something else. Yeah. But I think it's going to be a good game. TCU, if they win this, would be, I'm not going to say top 5 material. What are they, number 8 right now? I think they're number 8 right now. Like, dude, they'd have to have some people lose. No, I'm not going to go in on that. They're not going to go undefeated. I'm too smart for that. We're going to trend away from it. It's going to be a good game. Just tune in and watch. That's all I'm going to say. Tune in and watch.
Absolutely. I don't necessarily know which way I feel here. Like, the line feels about right to me. TCU by roughly a field goal. Okay. I was on Kansas State a lot in the offseason. Not as much on TCU, but TCU has really impressed. So, yeah, like you said, don't bet on this game. Just enjoy it. Watch it and enjoy it.
Was K-State one of your darlings? Weren't they one of your darlings?
They may have been. I don't remember exactly who I named a darling, but they were kind of low-key a darling if I didn't actually name them one. Yeah, I was definitely on them.
Yeah, I wasn't, but no, they've impressed. Absolutely. Big year for K-State.
All right, let's go over some locks. What are your locks of the week, Ashton?
Okay, so we teased one early. I will be on Clemson covering 13.5. It's just under that juicy 14 number that we like.
Lock agreement, by the way.
Okay, cool. I like it. So we're on Clemson. Clemson over Syracuse. Oh, dear Lord, am I betting on some pair of Ferences? Yes. Let's go with Iowa. The Hawkeyes are off a bye week. By the way, I know Ohio State was too. It's kind of a bummer. Off of a bye week. We're going to stay strong here. Iowa covers 29 on the road in Columbus at the Horseshoe. And I reserve the right to cancel that one before the end of this podcast.
I can get you a 29.5.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
And I will fight you.
Okay. Hey, no, this is good. Lock fight. Let's go.
Lock fight. We finally have a lock fight for the year. I'm taking Ohio State. I'm going minus 28.5. So there's a chance we could middle this. We could both win. Not likely, of course, but I wish it was 28. I really wish it could drop a point or half a point. I could get it 28 for the push insurance. I'll still take 28.5. I know Iowa's defense is amazing. I just think that Ohio State walks into 35 points no matter who they're playing. And Iowa might not score more than a field goal in this game.
I know.
And I think Ohio State will actually score. I think they probably get to 42. So, 42-10 feels fairly likely to me, something like that. 42-9 maybe, because that would be 3 field goals, which would sound more like Iowa. So
That's right. I was going to say, you're giving them a touchdown if they score 10. They don't do that. Yeah.
No, that would be – let's see, 2 safeties, 2 safeties and 2 field goals.
Yeah, we find the hard way to 10. That's right. A couple of safeties in there.
Or maybe a defensive touchdown. So that could be the way.
I didn't think about that. Like a block punt. Yeah,
sure.
Like a block punt. Sure.
Right.
I like that.
All right. Any others for you, Ashton?
Let's I'll let you go ahead. I know you like to be. You're fairly. We'll say liberal with just the way that you spray out the bets. So I was just gonna. I had a couple of them that I just kind of had earmarked a little bit, not pulling the trigger yet. Just wanted to hear where you're at. Or do you have any more in the hopper?
Yeah, so I mentioned already I have Clemson minus 13.5. I have Ohio State minus 28.5.
Yeah.
I'm taking West Virginia plus 7.5. I did find a 7.5 out there.
Yes.
If it was at 7, I probably wasn't going to take it, but I found a 7.5, so I'm taking that. They're playing Texas Tech. It feels way too much like a toss-up to me for any team to be favored by over a touchdown. So give me West Virginia plus 7.5. Give me Purdue plus 2.5. This is one of those, like, it feels like the wrong team's favored, which means that you should probably just listen to Vegas instead of your gut. I'm going to follow my gut because I'm under 500 this year, so why not? And I'm going to do the same thing with Ole Miss. Ole Miss is better than LSU, and they're an underdog. I don't understand why they're an underdog. They're better than LSU. I know LSU looked better last week.
I know.
But Ole Miss is better. They're just better.
Dude, I know. You don't have to convince me. I'm on your side. However, I'm going to lock fight you on both of those.
Yes.
I'm going. This is lock fight week. We haven't had one lock fight all year. We have 3 this week. Give me LSU plus 1.5. I think LSU not only wins, but they also have to cover. Dear Lord, what am I doing? And we're going with Wisconsin, the Badgers.
Oh, by the way, I can get you an LSU minus 1.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I guess, does that make a huge difference? Not really, but
it might.
We find value everywhere we can.
Yes.
Wisconsin wins. They also have to cover at home. Hey, it's at home. That's right. It's at home. Camp Randall. Even though Purdue is the better team, somehow Wisconsin gets off the mat and covers 2. Let's go. Let's lock that in. That means I have 4, which means I might actually cancel out one of my earlier ones.
Okay.
But yeah, no, let's do it. Let's go ahead and have a fight. All
right. So that gives us 3 fights. The lines are a little different. Like we both there's a chance that we could win one and the other 2, one of us could push and the other one could win.
Sure.
But yeah, we have not had a lock fight all year. I love it that we have 3. I also love it that there's 2 games that we both agree the spread doesn't make any sense. So I follow what makes sense and you follow Vegas. That probably makes you smarter, but this is an interesting case study.
That's right. We're doing some experimenting just on our podcast where we're trying to figure out lines that don't make sense. There's a term for it. I think it's called like a rat line or something, like where that stinks. Like something's wrong with that. Maybe we feel so good about this side that maybe that side's actually the one to be on. Yeah. When Vegas is begging you to bet something, that means you should probably be on the other side of it. Vegas doesn't beg people to bet on much. And I'm sorry, with LSU and Ole Miss, they are begging you to bet Ole Miss, just begging you to put money on the Rebels. So we're going to try to be smart here. And yeah, we're just going to figure it out. It's going to be an experiment. We'll get back with you next week and let you know how it turned out for us.
I'm already second guessing my Ohio State pick.
No, do not. Because I'm second guessing Iowa. Why would I bet on the Ferences to score points on the road? They don't do that.
They don't have to score points. They just have to hold Ohio State to 4 touchdowns. That's all they have to do.
They can't cover. Who are they going to cover them with? Like, no, I don't feel good about my side at all. Do you have any others? Let's just
no. That's all of mine. I'm out. It's a relatively tough week. I only came up with 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do like that we have 3 fights and we're on agreement. So
what about Penn State, Minnesota? Penn State only favored by 4.5.
Not touching it. They're both coming off big losses. I have no idea how both teams are going to react to that. The side that loses is going to immediately blame it on the emotional letdown of losing the week before. So whatever. And that
okay, hang on. Cal and Washington. Washington only favored by 7.5 at Cal. Come on.
Ooh, that is actually spicy.
That's tasty now.
Cal just lost to Colorado, which gave Colorado their first win of the season.
They stormed the field.
Yes.
Colorado stormed the field. That was their first win of the year. Colorado's god awful. They stormed the field. What are we doing?
You know what? I'm in. I love
it.
Washington minus 7.5. Let's go.
I'm not touching it. But yeah, good for you.
Oh, come on now.
Okay, I'm going to convince you of a couple others. Wait, Alabama, Mississippi State, Alabama.
No.
20. Come on, they're 20.
Not
It's right
touching
at,
it.
you can okay. South Carolina covering the 4.
No.
It's at home at Williams-Brice under.
Yeah, they suck.
Right. Louisville favored against Pittsburgh by a point. Louisville's favored. Louisville's not very good. Pittsburgh actually runs the ball. I don't know if you've seen that running back for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Abanikanda is his name.
Yep.
That man runs. That man gets after it. 12 touchdowns on the year.
The problem with that is Louisville has bipolar disorder, and we will see. They could very easily cover this by 10, and they could also lose this game by 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
I'm staying away from Louisville games this year. Just saying.
All right. Hey, I'm throwing him out there. Who does? Okay, Kansas, Baylor. Baylor favored by 8. Kansas coming off back-to-back losses, little underrated. Kansas is a better football team than Baylor. Kansas getting 8 as their road dog.
I don't hate that. I'm not pulling the trigger.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have much else to tempt you with. That was about it. I know you like to. Did you put one on West Virginia, Texas Tech?
I did. I found a 7.5. So.
Okay. How many do you have total? You have 5, right?
I'm up to 6 now with the Washington one. So.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Notre Dame bounce back week.
No.
Favored by 24. All right.
No.
They
have to score 24 points to cover that. So.
Oh, here we go. Georgia Tech favored against just plain old Virginia. 2 teams not very good.
Not
Georgia
touching.
Tech. All right. Yeah. All right. That's all I got.